welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today, I'm going to continue recommending the show Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is currently on Netflix. And I will be talking about Season 2, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. Starring with the same cast with a few newcomers. And it's a story continuing Ash, whom is trying to live his dream in Jacksonville, while Ruby is losing power of the book of Necronomicon, and she soon has to deal with her nemesis or rivals slash what's the guy's name? Barboa, pronunciation of the character, whom basically wants to unleash more evil on Earth. And Ash has to join forces with Ruby to make sure Barboa doesn't unleash hell on Earth. Now, this show actually has a unique twist later in the future episodes. Again, this is only a 10-episode deal where you're seeing Ash and his friends pretty much dealing with the consequences of Ash Williams' actions from the previous season. And it shows, where not only does the deal not get honored, but more demons roam wild. You have Ash, unfortunately, having to deal with his with his father, which is actually, I think, the first time that you see any of him or anything related to his past, where you kind of see him have a rocky relationship with his father and try to compete against one another on certain scenarios. And you have Ruby pretty much losing her powers to the point where she's basically human, having to adapt what it's like to be human. Now, and also they do a little bit more with with uh um Padro. I believe they do a little bit more with him, where after the effects of having that mask of the Book of Narmacon infused onto his face in the previous season, he starts to see visions. He starts to inherit the power of the book, where where I think he's harnessed some powers of the book, where he's able to use it and help Ash to kind of send the evil back to heck. Well, they capitalize it on it towards the later import into the series. They actually make Ruby very likable in this series, where you see her really spend time with Ash and really dealing with this unusual behavior, and how she's just kind of just annoyed to the point where she's ready to. Well, she has no choice but to rely on him to help out. And you have this guy plays Barbosa. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I don't remember the guy's name, but um, I'm calling Barbosa. I'm sure that's the wrong character's name, but and you kind of see him. He doesn't really get introduced, I think, until like episode 4, and then you kind of see him try to manipulate Ash and his team to basically take each other down. There's actually a good episode where um, he tries to manipulate the townspeople um, to try to get Ash, but Ash convinces him that he's a demon slayer. But there's an episode, I believe it's episode 7, where somehow he takes Ash and puts him in this rundown mental institution and tries to make him convinced that Ash is insane. And that was all in his head. That all the events that led to the original Evil Dead 2, that was all in his head. And you kind of see this losing of Ash losing his reality and trying to come to terms that he's gone insane, until it reveals later into the episode that it's all set up and they're trying to make Ash basically go insane to the point where he is forced to fall under Ball's control. Oh, it's Ball's control. Under Ball's control, that's the villain's name, Ball. Under Ball's control and take out his teammate. It was actually interesting that they really try to have the team try to try to go against one another, but not really like head on, but mostly psychologically, and that was a really interesting part of this. I think this season dwells more on the on the psychological of the characters and how they are overcoming from the previous season and how they're trying to cope with it, how they try to move on with it, and it really gets it really goes into some very interesting dilemmas that I didn't think that the show would go like with I forget her name too. I'm sorry, like I forget Kelly, Kelly, where Kelly is convinced from her evil demon part. There's an episode where she fights her evil demon part for a little bit, where she is constantly being told that she is stronger, mentally stronger, and more capable than Ash, and she's trying to really figure out is Ash kind of weighing her down a little bit, which she refuses to believe that. She does believe that Ash constantly gets himself into these bad scenarios where it's just pretty much dumb luck and his fault, but he tries to amend it. Like you constantly see Ash trying to amend um, his um, his decisions from the previous season. He tries to fix that, and he relies more heavily on his teammates in this season. And it's really surprising with his interaction with Ruby, how they kind of butt heads back and forth. The interesting aspects of this was, and I think it's one of the funniest aspects of the series, where you actually have one of the Ramy brothers, I believe it was Ted Levine, or Ted, not Ted Levine, Ted Ramy, Sam Ramy, Ted Ramy, in this show as Bruce Campbell's Ash's longtime buddy, a vet who's pretty much, I think he owns the bar and he drinks a lot. And you see him pretty much encourage Ash to do the best he can and try to be that support guy. But you can also see him that the guy is a complete idiot. And it's funny, like the guy is funny. You see him get high, you see him do all this kind of stuff with Ash, like pretty much to the point where they're like blood brothers. But sometimes I think like the guy is hilarious. Every time he's on screen, he's funny. He's funny. I was actually glad where there's a certain point what they do with his character. They bring him back later on into the show for a certain reason, which I won't spoil, to kind of get his character some more screen time because I just love that character. That character is hilarious. I believe this season, I believe, is probably the more grotesque, more bodily fluid, disgusting out of the season than the previous season because you have a scene where this demon turns into like this lady turns into like to a demon and she like forces Ash to drink milk. And there's a scene I think it was in episode 2 where Ash is at the morgue and there's this body is hiding the book of Necronomicon. And let's just say Ash has a difficult time trying to get that book out. And that's all I'm gonna say. I've never seen anything like it before in any horror film or any horror comedy or anything ever. They went completely absurd with this sequence here, and I have to tell you, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about at the morgue. It's a pretty absurd scene. I've never seen anything like it. It does get you squeamish a little bit. It does kind of get you like, ugh, for certain parts of the season. But I would tell you, this is goorier, much more disgusting and much more mayhem, but a lot funnier than the previous season. Maybe the season is a little bit better than the first, but I feel like the first one had a big impact, just changing the vibe of the Evil Dead series. But this one right here, you're gonna have a very good time with Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2. I highly recommend it, especially in the mood for anything gory, bloody, and funny, especially with Halloween around the corner. Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2, currently on Netflix. Have you seen it? Comment below, let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated horror series.